Hello, I'm John Rossi, a touring drummer with a love of all things animal. When I'm on the road, I visit as many zoos, aquariums... Hey, wait a minute. What's going on? Hey, what's going on there? Hello? 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 We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you Rossifari Zoo news. News you can use from the world of zoos and conservation. Every week, we bring you breaking news and analysis from around the globe, featuring the animals you love and the people who care for them. And here's your anchorman, John Rossi.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to Rossifari Zoo News, your look at everything going on in the world of zoos, aquariums, and general animal weirdness. Y'all, I'm going to be really honest with y'all. It is the last day of the AZA conference as I am recording this. We did Zoo Day today. We were at the Columbus Zoo for untold hours and untold number of steps. It was an amazing experience, and I'm going to talk more about that in my conference episode that's coming out on Tuesday with a ton of special guests. But yeah, now I am back at the Airbnb and trying to record Zoo News while not falling asleep. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that me starting this intro just woke Zoe up, so sorry, but I got to get the episode out. But don't be surprised if this is a bit shorter than a lot of our Zoo News episodes have been lately. And if you are one of those wonderful people who contributed and sent me some topics that don't make it, don't worry, I'm holding on to them for next week. But this has just been a corker of a week, y'all. It's been a good one, though. Can't wait to share about it on Tuesday. I also wanted to let y'all know that I did ask last week whether or not, you wanted me to cut back on the births a little bit and maybe even the deaths. Sometimes the lists get very long. And I heard from a bunch of you, and the answers were unanimous. Everybody said to keep it all in. So unless or until I hear a large number of people saying otherwise, I will be leaving that exactly as it has been. So yay for that. And the only other thing I wanted to say in my little personal update section is that I did just finish, taking my own show, Under the Sun, out on the road for a little bit. You may remember I was flying right to this conference from my last Under the Sun gig. And, y'all, it was magical. It was such a good time. The shows went so well. We performed at like a big performing arts center for the first time. So far, we've been doing casinos, and the show absolutely crushed there. So I'm really proud of that fact and really excited about it. But I said I was going to keep this short, so I shouldn't ramble on about my own life. So let's get to it, shall we? All right, so we're going to start off with some really exciting births, and it is still the season, so we have the official announcement of 2 more red panda cubs joining the world. These red pandlets have been born at Longleat over in the UK. Their mum is Emma, because get it, UK, so she's a mum. And their dad is Lionel. And yeah, so far they are doing very well, hanging out mostly in their nest boxes. But congrats to the team at Longleat for this amazing and exciting birth. All right, so moving on from that, our next couple of births are another one of my favorite animals. There are some new bintlets that have joined the world. First of all, Zoo Atlanta has announced the birth of 3 bintlets. Their mother is Bramble, and I remember announcing the birth of Bramble at Roger Williams Park Zoo when I was starting this podcast off. And the father is Baloo, who I did not announce on this podcast, but who I have actually met and is wonderful. And this is the first time that the pair has successfully bred. They have been partnered up for a little while now. And it's really, really exciting. Bramble at first did not accept her offspring. However, 2 of the 3 have since successfully joined their mother and are nursing normally. The third is being being reared by the animal care and veterinary teams because it just wasn't going quite as well. But the hope is that the third sibling will also be able to join the mother and the other two shortly. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, it'll do whatever is best for said bintlet. But yeah, no, I was so excited about this. And actually, it's really funny because this was announced the day that I was at Zoo Atlanta just because I had crazy travel stuff happening in my world. And I had so many people reach out to me and tell me that, this had happened and they were born and be like, is this why you're at Zoo Atlanta? Are you covering this? And sadly, I was not. Zoo Atlanta did not even know that I was there. But it's still cool to know that I was there the day that the bintlets were announced. Yay, bintlets. And actually, these three are not the only bintlets that we have to talk about. The Jardin des Plantes in Paris is officially the home to a new baby bintlet as well. Mother is Sui, and so far, the baby is doing well and being raised by mom, hanging out in a nest box. Not a lot more to report there, but just a really, really exciting thing. So there are 4 new bintlets being announced this week, along with 2 new pandlets. I love it so much. Next up on the list of animal births is giraffes. We have 3 that we need to talk about. First of all, there is a new giraffelet at the Wilds, the safari park of the Columbus Zoo. And there is also a new giraffe at the Toledo Zoo in Toledo, Ohio. So apparently there's lots of exciting giraffe birthing happening in Ohio this week. But that's not all. While I normally don't talk about wild births in this section, since we're already talking about 2 other giraffes, I need to tell you that there was recently born a giraffe in the wild that, much like a recently born giraffe in captivity at Bright's Zoo, has no spots. Or, depending on how you look at it, is all spot, which actually seems like the more accurate way of looking at it, because the coloration of the giraffe is the coloration of the spots that giraffes have. But however you look at it, there is a giraffe in the wild for the first time ever recorded that is a single color with no patterns. And I just find that amazing, especially in light of the fact that this happened at Bright's Zoo recently. So, weird and interesting giraffe birth facts. Yay. Our friends at the Nashville Zoo have announced the birth of a brand new baby clouded leopard. It is so freaking adorable, y'all. Now, the Nashville Zoo is actually known for doing really great clouded leopard breeding. This is the 43rd cub born at the Nashville Zoo since 2009. The cub is currently living behind the scenes, but it can be seen in the coming weeks at the zoo's HCA Healthcare Veterinary Center. I've talked about this on here before, but they actually have little nursery windows where you can look in and see some of the baby animals they're taking care of. And soon that will involve a clouded leopard. Wait, where am I going this week for the AAZV conference? Oh yeah, Nashville. I am really, really hoping that I will get to see this adorable little goober. I love cloudies so much. The Perth Zoo in Perth, Australia, has announced a birth of numbats. How many numbats? 13. The Perth Zoo has announced the birth of 13 numbats. Or numlets. And it's just amazing. They're a really rare species. They don't breed in zoos very regularly. And 13 is just such an insanely large number. I think it's just so cool. So very, very exciting news about the numblets that were born in Perth. And then last but not least for births this week, Point Defiance Zoo has announced the birth of a brand new baby musk ox, a musklet, which is different than a muskletid. Get it? That was that was bad. That was bad. I apologize. But it is a 20-pound baby, and the mother is named Charlotte, and she is an attentive mother and is taking great care of her newborn. So very exciting stuff at all of these zoos where new animals have been born. But of course, that leads us to the flip side, and we do have a couple of deaths that we need to talk about, including a very sad death at the Edinburgh Zoo, where Kitty, their red panda, passed away. Now, Kitty was an older red panda and had been experiencing age-related health problems, and unfortunately, her quality of life was just on the decline, and so the tough decision was made to humanely euthanize Kitty. But I feel like pandas passing during this season where there's so many births is always just like extra challenging. It's just hard to see it, and you know, it's a hard reminder that it's not all happy births. But Kitty will definitely be missed by her team. Brevard Zoo has announced the passing of Rafiki, one of the original 5 giraffes to be on habitat when their Expedition Africa opened way back in 2023. Rafiki was humanely euthanized at the age of 25 years old because of just age-related issues. Rafiki was a very beloved giraffe, both amongst keepers and fans of the zoo. And so it's a hard one. It's a hard loss. So sending condolences to everyone at Brevard Zoo. A particularly tough loss for me this week is the passing of Fargo, a gray wolf who lived at Turtleback Zoo in New Jersey. Fargo was an absolutely beautiful wolf that had a striking white coat, which helped him stand out from the rest of the wolves at the zoo there. It was impossible to miss Fargo, just such a gorgeous wolf and always seemed so playful and so sweet. And unfortunately, Fargo had an untreatable tumor on his heart. And so the team managed it for as long as they could. But as it was progressing, they had to make the decision to humanely euthanize. And it's just really sad. Fargo had been at the zoo since 2011 and arrived there with his brothers Theo and Xander. And it's just such a little cool herd that they had there for so long. Herd? They're wolves. It's a wolf pack. It's a thing. Sorry about that. Did I mention that I'm tired? But Fargo will be greatly missed. Zoo New England has announced the passing of Thika, one of the spotted hyenas who lived at the Franklin Park Zoo in Boston. He was actually the second oldest spotted hyena living in human care in all of North America when he passed away. And, you know, the spotted hyenas are such an incredible thing to see at Franklin Park Zoo. They really stand out. Apparently, Thika was a very intelligent animal and loved to participate in training sessions where he learned to partake in his own medical care. And as he got older and had a lot of health-related issues, that training became particularly important, but unfortunately his quality of life dropped too much, and in the end, it was time to say goodbye. So we definitely send our condolences to the team at Zoo New England. And then last but not least, in the deaths category this week, this one is a little different, but unfortunately, Zoo Salzburg announced that a female keeper in the rhino house was killed by one of the white rhinos at the zoo, a 30-year-old named Yeti, while she was taking care of it. A second keeper who worked there, who wanted to help the situation, was seriously injured by Yeti as well. I've read some reports that say that this is a married couple and other reports that dispute that. And I'm not going to lie, I haven't been able to figure out which ones are true. The internet is a weird place sometimes, y'all. But that's not the point of this story. The point is that, unfortunately, 2 keepers lost their lives working with animals that are, you know, even though they are kept protected contact in AZA facilities, considered pretty darn gentle. I have certainly been hands-on with more than a few rhinos in my day, and most people I know who do zoo stuff have had that experience as well. So I think this stands as a reminder both of just how much keepers give and how much there is always a risk present, but also that, the animals in zoos are wild animals and that diligence is required. So I'll be curious to track this story as it goes on and find out a little bit more about what happened. But really the story here is just that a keeper lost her life and another one was injured. And we hate to see that. So sending our condolences to everyone at the Salzburg Zoo. Moving on from our topics of births and deaths, Miami Seaquarium has officially announced that they are working on relocating the remaining dolphin that was partnered up with Toki before she passed away. And they are trying to figure out where to move her. They are currently working with people at Shed Aquarium, SeaWorld, and NOAA Fisheries to assess their readiness and to prepare the dolphin for the move. So for the people who are very concerned about said dolphin, according to Seaquarium, they're working on a relocation plan. And I really, really hope that is accurate. I don't have a lot of reason to trust them, but, hopefully the team's on the other ends. I do trust SeaWorld. I do trust Shed Aquarium. So hopefully they are going to make this happen. So as we move on from births and deaths, I actually have an update on some previously reported deaths. Last month, 2 monkeys passed away at Beardsley Zoo, and it was very sudden and unexpected, and people were very concerned about what happened and would the other monkeys get sick, and now the necropsy results are in. And it appears that what happened is that the 2 monkeys ate a rodent, probably a mouse, that had eaten toxic material, a rodenticide that is meant to kill rodents that are, found at zoos everywhere and such, and probably caught the mouse basically as soon as it ate the poison and before it was able to be digested, because this is the type of thing where if the poison had properly been digested in the mouse and then the monkeys would have eaten it, they still would have been fine. So it is a freak accident where they found and ate a mouse immediately after it ingested a rodenticide. So a terrible tragedy, but it's a really freak accident, and you hate to see it happen, but at least there is an answer now. The Utica Zoo has announced the acquisition of a new North American beaver named Jolene. Jolene was abandoned in the wild at a very young age and was taken care of by multiple rehabilitators throughout her life, which led to her being habituated to humans and as such unreleasable. So she has now been given a forever home at the Utica Zoo, or Zootica as I like to call it, and she has been partnered up with 5-year-old male beaver Francis, who lives at the zoo. The team had to do some work to the exhibit to get it all set up, but they have done introductions, and Francis and Jolene are doing amazingly well together. I can't wait to get to Zootica to see them both. The Oklahoma cave crayfish is one of the rarest crayfish species in all of North America, and it faces grave threats due to pollution sources such as commercial chicken farms, sewage, and surface development runoff. So there are some zoos that have been teaming up to try to help save this species. And just recently, the San Antonio Zoo has announced a major breakthrough in these conservation efforts with the successful births of 47 of the Oklahoma cave crayfish, the first ever done in human care. This is all part of a program where the zoo has teamed up with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Ozark Plateau National Wildlife Refuge, the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation, the Nature Conservancy, the Tulsa Regional Oklahoma Grotto, the Subterranean Biodiversity Project, and the University of Alabama in Huntsville. Now that these animals have been born, we can talk about reintroduction programs. We can talk about all kinds of stuff. And this is extra important as the Oklahoma cave crayfish is currently undergoing review for possible inclusion on the endangered species list by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So this is a really, really big deal and a really huge victory for the San Antonio Zoo. This next story is one of those that just, this is why I love zoos and the AZA so much. So, okay, not too long ago, back in May, the Sacramento Zoo welcomed a brand new baby orangutan known as Nanka. Unfortunately, Nanka was rejected by his mother, and as such, the team at the zoo was giving him around-the-clock care while hoping to reintroduce him to his mother at a later date. It didn't happen. Mom wasn't interested. And so the orangutan SSP recommended that Nanka be transferred to a location with an experienced adoptive mother. So Nanka was flown from Sacramento, California to Atlanta, Georgia, to Zoo Atlanta, where he will have an opportunity to meet Madu, a 40-year-old female Sumatran orangutan who has successfully adopted 4 youngsters over the past 20 years. It is really important that infant orangutans be raised by other orangutans. They have a longer childhood than any other terrestrial mammal, with the exception of humans, roughly 8 to 10 years. And it really, really is essential for the development of orangutans. There are many animal species that we have seen be raised by keepers and thrive, and it just doesn't happen with orangs. If they are raised by humans, they don't learn how to climb. They don't learn how to do a lot of their behaviors, like their predator avoidance stuff. And they're honestly not even really good at figuring out like what they need to eat and stuff. They really need to be taught all of that by another orangutan. And so now this little boy is getting that opportunity at Zoo Atlanta. And honestly, it just makes me so happy. Yay to both of those zoos. All right, y'all, this next one is a straight up call to action, okay? Our friends at the National Aviary in Pittsburgh have received a 10-year-old Stellers Sea Eagle, which is an incredibly gorgeous bird that has traveled all the way from Europe to the National Aviary thanks to the Species Survival Plan, okay? This is really, really exciting news. This is a gorgeous bird. This is the possibility of baby eaglets. I cannot say enough how excited I am about this. But then on top of that, the aviary is having a voting contest for a name for the new Stellers Sea Eagle. And there are 4 names that you can choose from: Aurora, Juno, Sitka, and Stella. And here's the thing. This bird cannot be named Stella. I feel personally like it is my job to beg you all to make sure this bird is not named Stella. I think the name Aurora is absolutely beautiful. It is an homage to the aurora borealis, or the northern lights, which can be seen in several locations, including Estonia, where this bird lived prior to moving to the aviary. So I think it's an absolutely perfect name. But I need you to vote against Stella more than anything else. You can go to @national_aviary for information on how to vote. It's not free. It's like a $5 vote, but the money goes to the aviary, and it's an amazing aviary. And it is a facility that has, not only appeared on the podcast, but has mentioned having me back. And I actually ran into Kathy at the AZA conference, and she was so excited to catch up, and she gave me some insight on a question that I had asked at a panel. And I just really, really want to get people to contribute to this. And I really think that Aurora is the best name for this bird. So do me a favor and go and vote for Aurora. And if you don't want to vote for Aurora, please, please, please don't vote for Stella. I just have this mental image. First of all, it's lazy, right? A Stellers Sea Eagle named Stella. Come on. But second of all, I just have this image of a bunch of people going to the aviary and being like, Stella! And no. So, yeah. Please do this. Please. I love you. The Sequest Aquarium at the Trumbull Mall in Trumbull, Connecticut is now closed. They announced that they were closing a few days before shuttering their doors and offered up all of their merch at greatly discounted prices. This was a non-accredited aquarium that I actually went to not terribly long ago to kind of take a look at and just see what I thought about it. We want to go and look and see what's going on sometimes. And I don't have much detail that I want to give right now other than to say goodbye and good riddance. This is a victory. When I was there, the staff was very young, very inexperienced, did not seem to know what they were doing. It was not my favorite. It was not my favorite. And I bid them, I can't say a fond adieu, but I bid them adieu and hope that all of the animals get to live better lives elsewhere. I can't speak to Sequest in general. I know some people who work at Sequests, and they seem like great people, and they are dedicated to animals and all of that stuff. So I do not have an opinion on the overall chain, but I will tell you, I visited the one in Trumbull recently, and bye. And last but not least for zoo news this week, the Perth Zoo recently had some controversy happen there, and I find it interesting. So an orangutan was hanging out in its treehouse when a possum decided to visit. And the orangutan decided that that was not the best idea, and took the possum and threw it out of its treehouse. And not great for the possum, although the zoo did confirm that the animal was actually in pretty good health, and they took it to their vets and took a look at it. And so, yeah, unfortunately, when the Perth Zoo initially announced that this happened, they said that the possum was being a pest to the orangutan, and a bunch of people got up in arms about that, and so they had to make an apology. Although, to be fair, the possum was totally being a pest to that orangutan, and the proof of that is the fact that the orangutan literally launched it like a frisbee while people were filming, and it went viral. So, yeah, they issued their apology, but the main story here is that a possum was thrown by an orangutan like a frisbee. And keep in mind, this is a possum in Australia, not an opossum, which lots of people in the US call a possum.
Conservation! Conservation! News time! Oh yeah!
More good news for sea turtles as even more nest counts have come in from various places. And like I've mentioned on the podcast before, every single one that is reporting is saying that these nest numbers are the highest they have ever been for an entire nesting season. And the nesting season is not over yet. As a matter of fact, leatherbacks have been seen at Cape Hatteras nesting for the first time ever. So this continues to be just a really good year for sea turtle news, which makes me happy. So if you remember my episode with Dr. Laurie Marker of the Cheetah Conservation Fund, then you know that they like to give livestock guarding dogs to farmers in Namibia to encourage them to not kill predators, but instead have these dogs living on their property to scare them off. Well, as part of that program, which you may also remember, listeners of Rossifari are now sponsoring 2 of these livestock guarding dogs for the entire year because of your generosity during that podcast's time. So thank you so much for that. But yeah, so the team at CCF recently took some of their dogs to a dog show in Africa. They did this to promote their conservation efforts, but they had a dog that took 2nd place in the best pure breed category, a dog that took 3rd place in best mixed breed category, and another dog that represented in the best senior category. And along with their victories, they won some goodies and dog food, which are being donated to local farmers to nourish their livestock guarding dogs. So this raised attention and awareness of the program. This got donations that these dogs literally won for their friends out doing the thing. And they also got like awards for having cool dogs. I love this so much. CCF is so innovative and so cool. I was so inspired to talk to Dr. Marker, and I could not be more impressed. They're such a cool organization. And speaking of organizations that I love, Red Panda Network has announced that there have been no recorded cases of illegal red panda pelt trade in Nepal in 2023. In 2021, there were 37, which was the highest recorded number since 2008. This is a huge, huge victory for red panda conservation. And there is a lot of evidence that proves that this is directly because of the work being done by Red Panda Network on the ground in Nepal. So again, an organization that I'm just super proud of, and it's a super great story. And, the work continues. So, CCF, Red Panda Network, absolutely wonderful organizations to donate to. And don't forget that this Saturday, the day after this episode drops, is International Red Panda Day, where you can go to many of your AZA accredited zoos and facilities that host red pandas and learn about the species and find creative ways to donate. A lot of these places are doing animal art or other cool things, and they'll have ways for you to give money to them to give to Red Panda Network, or if you can't make it to that, just to go to redpandanetwork.org and make a donation for International Red Panda Day. And let's save my favorite species.
It's time for other news. It's time for other news. Hey, now, right now, they know it's time. It's time for other news. Hey, it's a segue to the part called other news.
Call him a thief, call him a vandal, but now we know that we can call him Claude. It turns out that a nursery owner in Australia was very confused because of the fact that there were a bunch of seedlings that were being eaten or disappearing, and he just wasn't really sure what was going on until he walked into work one day to find a little koala, dazed and so stuffed that he couldn't even move, surrounded by stripped eucalyptus plants. It it turns out that this koala that has been named Claude was snacking on several thousand plants that cost the nursery over 6,000 Australian dollars, which is roughly 3,800 American, or as I like to call them, real dollars. The irony to this story is that the plants that Claude devoured were being grown to be planted out in the wild to boost koala habitats because the species is endangered and had a lot of their habitats wiped out by wildfires. So, I guess Claude decided that instead of sharing with all the other koalas, he was just going to eat it all himself. Not a great step for conservation, but Claude seemed pretty proud of himself. And then last but not least in other news, as if that wasn't a ridiculous enough story, a three-legged bear recently broke into a home in Lake Mary, Florida, where it went into a stash of adult beverages and drank a bunch of White Claws. So, apparently, the real message of this story is that even bears can be basic.
Oh, animal holidays. Animal holidays. Hey!
And that brings us to our animal holidays for the week. I told you this was going to be a shorter episode, but I need to tell you all this. So I get these from the Peppermint Narwhal annual calendar, which is for sale on their website and such right now. But I actually got to meet the owners of Peppermint Narwhal at the AZA conference this week. And they were very cool, and they gave me their 2024 calendar, and they gave me a couple copies to share with y'all. So I'm going to be doing some giveaways soon, and you will have the opportunity to win your very own 2024 Peppermint Narwhal Animal Holidays calendar, which I just think is so cool. Now, we are still in September, and September is Save a Tiger Month and Save the Koala Month, which apparently Claude did not learn. Now, for our days of the week, we don't have anything on Friday the 15th, which is a bummer. Then the 16th is Plover Appreciation Day, International Red Panda Day, and International Coastal Cleanup Day. The 17th is National Fox Day, and the 22nd is Elephant Appreciation Day and World Rhino Day. And those are your animal holidays for the week. All right, so there you have it, folks. Another week of Rossifari Zoo News is done. I'd like to say thank you to my patrons, all of my patrons, but especially my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Shank and Dr. Stephen Williamson. And I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who contributed stories this week. And like I said, if you didn't get your stories in this week, don't worry. I have a lot saved for future episodes because I need to go to bed because I'm exhausted. But thank you to Anya Keene, Colleen Lenahan, Kim Cooley, Carrie Kirkpatrick, Kevin Williams, Dr. Laura Shank, Liz Dunlevy, Ken Tryon, Jay Meredith, Dylan Hoy, Crystal Chapman, Sabo, Andrew King. His name is Andrew. I don't know what I'm doing. Danica Wolf, Emily Rockbuck, Mark Hansen, Kristen Khalil, Nora Beardsley, Amanda Berg, Sam Stock, Ali Malensky, Emily Poche, Ren Howell, and Karen Musklau. And remember, y'all, the words Newsy credits backwards are Steider Giswen.
The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.